Hi, this is Lindworth playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can, and I continue with Kingdom Come Deliverance, Blind. Now, I'm supposed to find recruiters in Sasau that are recruiting people to join up with the bandits, and one of the places I was supposed to ask at is the tavern. So let's go and find the innkeeper.
I hope I can be of help to you, Knight.
Have you noticed anything suspicious lately?
And what's your idea of suspicious?
Have you heard of anyone looking to hire some rough men?
Mercenaries, you mean?
Yes.
There were some fellows conspiring here in the corner twice a week, and others coming and going. They didn't look entirely respectable, but they never made any trouble.
And what happened to them?
I don't know, they just stopped coming. And I haven't seen hide nor hair of them since.
You haven't heard anything about where they went?
How could I have? They just stopped coming, and that's that.
Where do you think they might be meeting now?
How should I know? I'm an honest innkeeper, not a man-at-arms. They could be meeting at another inn. They could be meeting in the woods by the light of the moon, for all I know.
Is there any way I'll recognize them?
Unquenchable thirst? They drank like fish. They were rough-looking too. Big-bearded and scruffy. Aside from that, they mostly kept to themselves.
That's not much help. What did they do while they were waiting for someone?
They drank. And they played dice. I do remember there were always dice on the table.
So they were fond of dice, were they? And where would you find a game around here?
Anywhere there's dice and usually drink. That's all you need for a game. Although it dawns on me now, I never saw Simon with those men, oddly enough. He's got a nose for drunken dice players with a coin to lose.
Simon who?
Why, the young miller. He runs Katzig Mill. Neighbours are always slandering him for trafficking, but who knows? Maybe he just has a knack for business.
You don't know where I might find some, more dishonourable folk?
And why would you want them? You'll set tongues wagging about you.
But they'd be the ones to know what reputable townsfolk don't.
I grant you that. Well, we don't have an executioner, just a knacker. But he's an odd fellow. Like any knacker, I suppose. And there's some strange tales about Miller Simon, too. But I'd say it's just jealousy.
What can you tell me about the knacker?
Decent folk don't talk about him. He deals in carcasses.
I was hoping you'd tell me a bit more than that.
Why should I care about him? He lives in a house by the church, and that's all I know. And all I'll say.
What can you tell me about Simon?
There's not much to tell. He runs Katzig Mill, and some say thieves meet there at night. But isn't there gossip about every miller? I don't think he's a sinner. But only God knows for sure.
Anything else?
You might not find him at the mill. He's a busy man, always out and about making some deal or other. And he likes to throw dice, especially when he sees a fat purse hanging on a drunken belly.
Thank you for the help.
Not at all. But why off so soon? Sit down for a tankard or a bite to eat.
Are there any problems around here I might be able to help with?
Nothing I've heard about. Thank the good Lord. It's quiet here. See you later.
Okay, so I'll go and talk to the gravedigger, because I also need to talk to a guy who works at the quarry, which is somewhat nearby. Oh, not at the quarry, but rather the tanner. Okay, so first let's ask the gravedigger.
Come closer, my friend.
Mother of God! God's blessings. What can I do for you?
Are you the local knacker?
I'm the local gravedigger. But if there aren't any burials to take care of, I'll turn me hand to knackery.
Well, then you might know a lot of things that others don't.
I'm a decent man. Not always honest, but decent.
Show yourself! What's going on
And what's been happening in Sasau lately?
Nothing interesting. Except maybe that bitch being slaughtered.
What? Who was she, a villager? I wouldn't call that nothing interesting.
No! I mean a dog bitch. It was a while back, but they called me to clear it up.
What happened?
The dog looked like she'd been hacked to bits. They were scared it was some demon. But as far as I could see, someone took a sword or an axe to her.
Why on earth would anyone do that?
What do I know? Maybe he was snooping around where he shouldn't, and the bitch went for him. I hear there was some dog-bitten fellow being cared for at the monastery. Only they kept him there on account of a broken leg. Maybe that's the same one.
I do remember a guy with a broken leg, so I will go question him.
Anything fishy going on in these parts?
There certainly is. Candles are being stolen from the church, as brazen as that. What sort of people do that?
Ah, but have you heard of anyone around here hiring adventurers and bandits?
How would I know that? Most people avoid talking to me. I don't even go to the tavern much these days.
Thank you. I'll be going now.
Very well. Feel free to stop by any time. People shy away from me, except when there's a death or the cesspit's full. I'll see you later.
Okay, let's go and talk to the tanner as well.
God be with you. What can I do for you? God be with you.
Is this not this tanner? Is there a different tanner? Like, I guess the one that I'm looking for lives like very far out of town, by the forest.
God save you.
Tanner, I've heard all's not well with you.
It's better now. I must have eaten something bad.
No, I mean you've complained about some ruffians raising hell behind your house.
Aye, true enough. That lot's been a thorn in my side. And when I went to tell them to take it elsewhere, they nearly beat me to a pulp.
And nobody does a thing about it?
I've been to the bailiff, but he couldn't give a rat's arse. There's no commotion under his window, so what does he care?
That's quite a bailiff you've got.
A scarecrow would keep better order.
How many of them are there?
How would I know? They make as much noise as a herd of wild boar in rutting season.
And did they all attack you?
Aye. They knocked the stuffing right out of me.
When are they there?
Nearly every evening. Every god-forsaken evening. Shouting and bellowing there till nightfall. And then they leave. Probably to get drunk.
If you want, I'll take care of them.
Well, you look like you could move mountains, but there are several of them and just one of you.
Perhaps we'll be able to settle things peacefully.
Maybe. They might think twice before kicking your arse.
Perhaps I can reason with them. It doesn't have to come to blows.
Well, break a leg, lad. Or better yet, don't. But if you manage to pull it off, you'll get your reward. Don't worry. God be with you.
Take care of the brawlers who meet in the evening behind the tanner's house. Okay, so I have to wait for the evening for that, but I still have a lot of other things to do in Sasau. So that's not really a problem. I will visit the other inn, as well as the miller, and then the wounded guy at the monastery, because the guy with the broken leg is supposed to know something.
Yeah.
God grant you health. How may I help you?
I'm looking for some people you might know something about.
If they come here to drink, maybe. But I won't aid you in any mischief.
I've heard some rough men come here looking to recruit. Have they ever stopped in to eat or drink? Or to arrange something?
There were some brawlers that used to fight behind the tavern. But they raised such a commotion, I went and complained. And the town watch drove them off somewhere.
I wasn't thinking about that lot.
As you wish.
I'm looking for recruiters that hire mercenaries and other cutthroats.
Don't know about that. Every once in a while, a merchant will hire some help or an escort, but nothing more. Nobody comes here regular. I'd notice if they did.
Do you happen to know where the brawlers you complained about moved on to?
I've not got the slightest inkling. I'm just glad all the shouting stopped. It scared the horses in the stables.
You haven't heard talk of any scoundrels in town?
Well, I have heard some things, but I can't say if they're true or not. There's some that talk just to hear the sound of their own voices.
And who's the most frequent topic of that kind of gossip?
Miller Simon. They say he's rich with coin, and it's not from the mill. But that's nonsense. Folk just don't know how much a mill can earn.
Anyone else?
Aye, there's talk of the knacker giving people the evil eye, or them that's not in Bailiff's good graces. But I don't suppose that's what you want to know.
Thank you, innkeeper.
Not at all. Would you like something to eat or drink?
I've heard it's not quite as lively here as it once was.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Guess they're always making merry when there's a drink to be had.
That's not quite what I meant. I'd heard there were some stable boys staying here for a long while looking for work, but it took too long and they took to causing trouble.
True, but that's nothing new. No, the thing is, there's not many wagons coming through at all. Folk are afraid to travel far in case they get done in by some cutthroats or, God forbid, have their wagons requisitioned by some army.
So there are fewer travellers, and some of them must be a little unsavoury.
I take anyone who turns up. They come one day and leave the next, maybe with someone else. Past few weeks I've only had trouble with one who skipped off without paying.
He just vanished, without a word.
Well, he said he lost all his silver to the miller, and he had to go and see him about something. Only he never came back. Left all his belongings here.
Do you still have them?
Of course not. I sold them all a few days later when he didn't come back. The buyer's gone now too, before you ask. But there wasn't much there in any case. The seller didn't even cover his bill. Take care.
Okay, I'll definitely go and see the miller, because the fact that somebody went to see him about a debt and then never returned is definitely sort of mightily suspicious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the mill that they mean? Or is it the one... Oh no, it's the one all the way out here. Okay, so I'll go to the monastery first, because it's closer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that, that was stupid of me.
There's nothing to see here. On your way.
Oh, there's a guard by Johanka's door. Is it because she has been arrested for heresy? Like, I have seen that coming from the very first second of this quest.
Where's Johanka?
She's locked up at the rat house. Orders of the bishop.
Locked up? For what?
For heretical speeches. Run along now. If you want to chat about it, go and talk to that monk who smells like an apothecary shop. He's in a flap about it too. Goodbye.
Okay, so I'm supposed to talk to Brother Nicodemus then. Let's do that. And while I'm here, there was a guy, I think it was this guy, who had a broken leg. So let's talk to him.
What's the...
I see you look much better.
No, I feel much better. Then I heard it was all down to you. Thank you. If you ever need to know about anything that's going on in Sasau, come and see me. There's nothing much happens here without my knowledge. Thomas is my name.
Good health
How are you
to you,
doing?
Henry.
Feeling better yet?
Aye, much better. I'm truly grateful. A bit longer and I'll be able to run back to the woods and carry on. Well, never mind. Very kind of you to look in on me.
Truth be told, I didn't come just for your health.
What do you need?
Well, I've heard tell there's work for fearless men who enjoy a bit of silver.
Ah, I believe I can help you with that. They used to frequent the tavern, but now they meet in the church.
The church?
Aye, that's right. The church is locked at night, but if you see a light, the door will be open. Go in there and wait. Say a prayer or something, and then you'll see.
That's it? I don't need to speak to anyone?
Just doing what I told you is enough. They'll give you a good look over and see if you've got the metal. Don't you worry about that.
All right, thank you.
You took care of me, why wouldn't I help you? Tit for tat, eh?
Take care.
Okay, so I'm supposed to visit the church at night. Let's talk to Brother Nicodemus about Johanka.
I can't...
What happened to Johanka?
Nothing good, I'm sorry to say. She was locked up by the Papal Inquisitor Bishop Jaroslav of Benishov. It seems he somehow caught wind of this preaching of hers. He's accused her of spreading heresy and had her placed under arrest.
Jesus Christ! What's going to happen to her?
I don't know, Henry. It all depends on the Inquisitor and how he decides. The accusations brought against Johanka are very serious.
Well, we must do something.
Well, you can try talking to Bishop Jaroslav.
Quiet!
He can tell you more. As a servant of the royal hetman, your name ought to carry some weight with him. But watch your step. This matter is entirely in the hands of church law, so you mustn't overestimate your lay authority here.
Right. I'll go and see this Bishop Jaroslav of Benishov.
May God go with you. And thank you, Henry. I'm glad you're standing up for Johanka. If you need anything, do come and see me.
Where can I find this Inquisitor?
He's staying here in the monastery grounds. His quarters are on the upper floor.
What exactly does an Inquisitor do?
The Inquisition is a papal institution that deals with heresy. So people don't succumb to charlatans, false prophets and deceptions, and put their faith and their immortal souls in jeopardy. The Inquisitors have all sorts of powers, the kind we here can do very little to stand up to.
And what can he do to Johanka?
I'm not entirely sure. These legal issues are very complicated, but he could certainly excommunicate her, and maybe even sentence her to death.
What actually happened here?
Johanka told me you went to Auschwitz?
Yeah? What's that got to do with anything?
The Inquisitor showed up here not long after you left. Apparently he heard about Johanka's preaching somehow. He even observed one of her sermons outside the town in disguise. He had her brought to him and spent a long time trying to discourage her from what she was doing. But then she went out again to preach about her visions outside of town. But before she even started, the Inquisitor turned up with Fabian and the guards. He said Johanka had ignored his outright ban, and he had her taken away. Then he warned the people there that Johanka was spreading heresy and undermining the church's authority, and forbade them to listen to her.
That's all? Didn't you speak to the Inquisitor?
No, actually I didn't. He saw me there listening to her preaching, and I was afraid to come forward and talk to him.
Well, that's understandable.
Thanks.
It sounds pretty serious.
It is. I'm afraid it could be very serious indeed.
Who is this Bishop Jaroslav?
I've never heard of him before, but the prior has. He said he's very well learned and the Bishop of Sarepta.
Sarepta? Where's that, Moravia?
No, it's far, far away, near the Holy Land. He got the title from the Holy Father himself.
And this bishop came all the way here from whatever?
Sarepta, but I doubt he's ever been there. It used to be a bishopric in the days of the Apostolic Fathers in Phoenicia, near Israel, but it was ransacked by the Muslims. Now it's just a titular bishopric. And Jaroslav is the titular bishop.
Titular bishop? Like he's not a real one?
It's, let's say, an honorary title. It refers to a diocese that no longer exists. And since a titular bishop has no diocese to oversee, he can devote himself to handling other very important church affairs, like ordaining other prelates, for example, to maintain succession through the centuries down from the time of Christ and his apostles.
Do you believe Johanka is really being visited by the Virgin Mary?
Well, yes, Henry, I do. The things she says and the way she speaks. She doesn't sound like herself at all. I know she can't read, so where else could she have got it? Frankly, I can't think of any other explanation, within the bounds of this world.
Well, there's obviously madness, which is the theory I personally subscribe to. Like, I think she's mentally ill, and obviously, back in the day, religion played such an important role in everyone's life, and like in the very fabric of like reality, that everything was interpreted according to either being, a divine influence or like a demonic influence. For example, mentally ill people were often accused of being possessed, because that was just the framework within which those people sort of understood the world. I do need to make the Mask of Infinite Allure for Sir Hans. Okay, cave mushroom, sage, comfrey, marigold, and water. Okay, I think I have all of those. Cave mushroom, marigold, sage, and comfrey. Cave mushroom. Okay, that's interesting that I apparently don't have anything else, but it should be on my horse. Yeah, marigolds, sage, and comfrey. Do I really not have more? Okay, I'll buy a couple of pieces from him, just so that I don't have to run around and find it. Okay, so prepare water, drop the sage, brew for 3 turns, add the marigold and comfrey and brew for 1 turn, and then mushroom and do not cook. Okay, so drop the sage first, water. Drop the sage. Cook for 3 turns.
I can't sleep again.
I'll have to get something to eat. I'm starting to get hungry.
Then it was marigold and comfrey and boil for 1 turn. So let's do that. Okay, I will auto-brew some things.
Quiet!
I'll auto-brew another vial of this, because maybe the charlatan will actually buy it. Although, well, no, that makes no sense. He sells the recipe for it, so he knows it's fake, I assume. Okay, so let's talk to the Inquisitor then about Johanka. Okay, I'm out of meat, so I have to hunt something when I'm in the forest, but for now...
And them fellows don't come cheap.
On account of brigands, like?
Aye, they're all over.
That damned Sigismund and his bloody heathens. In King Charles's day, we had peace and calm everywhere.
Those days are gone. God preserve us.
The Inquisitor's quarters are supposed to be upstairs. Is that you? Are you the Inquisitor? Yes, you are. Who's that? Inquisitor's assistant. Okay.
Sir, I am...
Henry of Scarlet, from the garrison of the Royal Hetman, Sir Radzig Kobyla. I've heard a lot about you, my son. I'm pleased to meet you.
Bishop Jaroslav, sir, my lord, to what do I owe your interest in my humble self?
I was told you survived the massacre in Skalitz and warned the Berg garrison. You tracked down the raiders of a stud farm in Neuhof, wasn't it? To their hideout in the woods. And then you led Sir Radzig and his armed company there and joined bravely in the skirmish, and even killed their notorious leader by your own hand. And I believe you have many other deeds to your name. That's quite remarkable, considering your age, is it not?
Well, you're too kind, Monsignor. I'm just trying to do what's right, and what's needed.
Quite rightly, too, my son. I expect we'll be hearing more about you. But I assume you didn't come here to exchange pleasantries. Or am I mistaken?
No, Monsignor, you're quite right. I'm here about Johanka.
Naturally. I'd be quite surprised if it were otherwise. So, tell me what's on your mind.
How did you find out about Johanka?
Word came to me of what was happening here. That some young girl was claiming to speak for the Blessed Virgin. I traveled here immediately, as my duty demanded, and observed events in Sasau incognito, in order to examine the matter at first hand.
I see. Why did you have her imprisoned?
Because she broke the promise she made to me, and persisted in actions that bear the signs of heresy.
And what will happen to Johanka now?
I must weigh the gravity of her transgressions and investigate these alleged visions of hers. I consider it very improbable that she is indeed being visited by the Blessed Virgin. Nevertheless, I cannot at this time rule it out entirely.
I'm not going to choose this. Overall, I have to be very careful, as Brother Nicodemus sort of suggested, because obviously this man is like infinitely more important than I am. He can easily have me imprisoned for questioning. You know, he's a papal inquisitor. He acts, he acts on a direct mandate from the Holy See, which in turn is understood still by Catholics, at least nowadays, and definitely a thousandfold stronger in the Middle Ages. The Pope is like the direct representative of Christ on earth. Like, there is no greater authority than the Pope. So, like, this man can do whatever, probably, and it would be very stupid to anger him.
So you think it could be true? In that case, Johanka hasn't done anything wrong.
It's not that straightforward. Even if her visions were real, she was at fault for interpreting them as she saw fit and preaching to the people.
When will you decide, Monsignor?
As soon as I am fully informed of the facts. Although it seems the matter is a little more complicated than I first thought. I will call Johanka and the witnesses, question them, and then pronounce a verdict.
Okay, again, I'm not going to choose this because it's rather antagonistic.
And will there be anyone there to defend Johanka?
Do you doubt my judgment?
I would never be so bold, sir. But surely it would be only just that someone should speak for Johanka about all her good deeds and so forth.
Naturally, I will also question those who would speak in her defense. Since you are interceding, I expect you have someone in mind?
Yes. Actually, me.
As I surmised. But this matter does not directly concern you. Why should I allow you to appear before the court?
He doesn't have that impressive stats when it comes to persuasion.
Johanka is my neighbour, and I have a Christian duty to come to her aid. I can't just stand by and do nothing.
I have to concur with you on that. Your concern seems sincere, so I will grant your request. Very well. You will defend Johanka. You may speak in her defense if you so wish, and you may also bring witnesses. I will question any such witnesses, and naturally I shall question Johanka too.
Thank you, Monsignor. In that case, I'll need to speak to Johanka first.
That won't be possible. It's forbidden by the Inquisition procedure. Until the entire matter is resolved, Johanka can speak only to me, and no one else.
Okay, I'm not going to push the issue because, again, I think this man can have me pretty much executed if he really wanted to. But at the very least, he can have me locked up.
I would like to expedite the matter. The trial will take place in Sasau Church in 3 days' time at the latest. Come and let me know when you're ready to proceed. In the meantime, I will continue my investigation.
Very well, Monsignor. I had better get on with it then, sir. Farewell.
Before you go, you know Johanka longer than anyone else. You spent a lot of time with her, as I've discovered. Tell me, my son, truthfully, what do you think of this whole affair?
Okay, I'm obviously not going to mention things that would result in her being incriminated because, even this is not about crimes to me. Like, she didn't do anything wrong, and to prosecute her for this in the first place is obviously absurd for me because I'm a non-religious person. But most of those things, for example, the affair with the custodian, like, from the point of view of a medieval person, I guess that's true, but from the point of view of me as a player, she was actually molested by him, kind of. At the very least, she was kind of softly coerced. So that's not entirely right to just mention it because the Inquisitor will probably interpret it through the lens of his own, of his own view on morality, which is obviously filtered both through him being a man and him being, a priest of the Catholic Church. I don't even know what this refers to be honest. I will mention her good qualities, though.
Johanka is an honest girl, and virtuous. She's a good Christian, who attends church and thinks of others.
Good. Please continue.
She's worried about Matthias. He's from Skalitz too, and she's very fond of him. But he was wounded in a raid on Merhojed recently, and since then he's been lying in a fever. Johanka believes that if she does what the Blessed Virgin wants of her, Matthias might be healed.
Interesting. Anything else?
Well, before, in Skalitz, Johanka was sort of, just a simple village girl. I never imagined I'd hear her talking the way she does now. She's completely transformed.
A simple village girl. I see. Do continue.
Okay, that was maybe not the best point to bring up, because I would much rather avoid the whole Virgin Mary issue, because obviously my stance on it as a player doesn't exactly help her case. Because I don't really believe she's seeing the visions of the Virgin Mary, which, from my perspective, she's mad, but from the perspective of the Inquisitor, she's a heretic. If it isn't really happening, and she's talking about it as if it was true.
Johanka helped a lot of people. She worked her fingers to the bone helping Brother Nicodemus with the sick and injured.
That is certainly commendable. What else can you tell me about her?
Okay, I think that's all.
That's about all I can tell you.
Is that really everything?
Yeah. I'll try lying to him. Hopefully it works, because if not, then I've just made her case quite a lot worse.
I have nothing more to add, Monsignor.
Very well. Thank you, my son. One more thing before you go. Let me remind you that it's your Christian duty to report anything suspicious going on concerning the Church and the true faith, if you're aware of anything of the sort in these parts. If you prove yourself a commendable servant of the Church, I would also take that into account in judging Johanka's case.
All right, Monsignor. I'll bear that in mind.
Bye.
Okay, don't start the trial. I can tell him about some things that I'll defend her in a duel. Well, I don't think he would take kindly to that. I can tell him about some things that I don't think would have changed much. For example, about the Valdensians, because they already escaped. But it will seem as if I am, a stalwart Christian defending the one true faith. But in reality, it doesn't really change anything because they've already escaped. So they will not be in danger by me telling him about them.
Monsignor, Johanka is just a simple village girl from Skalitz. Are all these legal proceedings really necessary?
They are. The mission of the Inquisition is quite unequivocal. And however trivial, this matter has a broader significance.
What broader significance?
No offense, but these things can't easily be explained to an uneducated boy like you. Still, I'm pleased that you take an interest. Unfortunately, I don't have time for this now. If you really want to know more, ask my assistant. After all, it is also our duty to guide others through the labyrinth of this world.
Okay, I will talk to the assistant.
But what's so bad about what Johanka has been saying?
Look here. It's simply unacceptable that anyone at all should come along and stand up in the market square and preach about God's will or how he or she interprets it. God gave us his teachings, which we must honor, and he showed us how to fulfill them. It is only those teachings that lead us on the path to salvation and God's grace. But understanding those teachings is no simple matter. It demands learning, time, and effort. That is one of the tasks of Holy Mother Church. What Johanka has been saying is dangerously close to heresy. She must be brought to see the error of her ways, and her disruptive actions must cease.
Okay, I obviously, I obviously think this whole issue is bullshit, but I won't say that, because obviously, as I also said, that's a rather bad idea.
I understand, my lord. I'm a good Christian, and I don't doubt the authority of the church.
Good. I'm glad I got through to you.
Why did you have Johanka imprisoned?
I talked to her for a long time about the things she was saying and about her convictions. I warned her that she had to stop preaching in public, and I told her if she had any further concerns, or, as she claims, visions, she should come to me. Johanka chose to ignore my warning and continued with her preaching. Obviously, I couldn't turn a blind eye to that kind of disobedience.
Okay, let's report a few suspicious activities, because he said he will count that in favor of Johanka.
Monsignor, I've heard of various irregularities in the province that might be of interest to you.
Very good, my son. A good Christian certainly shouldn't conceal such things. Please, speak.
Okay, let's talk about the Valdensians, because as I said, they already escaped.
There were Valdensians hiding in Ujits.
Really? And how did you find out about it?
Sir Hanush sent me to help the vicar track them down and catch them.
So, Sir Hanush had an interest in finding them?
Yes, that's right.
I'm pleased to hear it. It's not always possible to see eye to eye with secular lords in such matters. And how did it end up with the members of the sect?
They fled. The vicar is still trying to track them down.
That's unfortunate. Let's hope the vicar succeeds promptly in his mission.
I will also tell him about the Devil's Skull, because I feel that that's inconsequential. First of all, it's a fake, and second of all, the people who did that are already dead.
A demon's skull was found on the church building site.
Yes. I heard something about it. A disturbing report. Tell me what you know about it.
It was a deception, sir. Someone made it with evil intentions to frighten people. I found the skull and brought it to the local knacker. He confirmed it was a human skull with animal horns stuck on.
You did the right thing, Henry, in uncovering the deception and in telling me about it.
Okay, and I will tell him about the suspicions of the monks being involved in counterfeiting currency, because that for one is an actual crime that I am actually against. So, I might as well tell him about that, because I don't want to rat on Father Godwin being like a drunkard, or on Father Simon having a child, or on the Ushitz women, being involved in a Sabbath, because I think it might end badly for any of those people if I mention that.
There are interesting things going on inside the monastery.
In the monastery? What kind of things?
Oh, various things that people are talking about. There's a lot of talk about the construction of the new church and how much it must be costing. But actually, nothing that would interest you, really. I won't waste your time with it.
As you wish.
Okay, so I think that's all for now.
That's all, Monsignor.
All right, Henry. Thank you. But I hope you're not keeping anything from me.
God be with you.
Let's talk to the assistant.
God save. What can I do for you?
The bishop told me this business with Johanka has a wider context, and that you tell me about it.
Oh, very well. If the bishop says so. Look, it's like this. The world as a whole is not in a good state. For decades, people have been perishing from a terrible sickness, the Black Death. There's an anti-pope in Avignon in France who defies the authority of the throne of St. Peter. The people are frightened. Many of the nobles, instead of caring for peace on earth, are warring one against another. The authority of many monarchs, and even the emperor, is unfortunately too weak to put things to rights. Many scholars have even started to question established truths, and various contentious teachings have appeared, such as those of the Englishman Wycliffe.
All right. It has been because the sort of biggest hit of the plague of the Black Death was the middle of the 14th century, 1350 or something and onwards. So it has only been, it might very well still kind of be ongoing. I didn't really even think about it. But no, I don't think it lasted that long. It killed half the population of Europe in a span of couple years. So it has only been at most 40 years or whatever, 40, 50 years since the biggest concentration of it. So in fact, the world wouldn't have recovered at this time.
The Black Death?
The plague, my child. A dreadful disease that claimed countless lives. By the grace of God, these parts were not much afflicted, but it took a terrible toll in the surrounding countries. First, the Italian ports were stricken, Venice and Genoa, and then nearly the whole of Christendom. Some regard it as God's punishment for our sins, or even a sign of the approaching parousia.
What?
The parousia, the second coming of Christ. The day when he returns to this world will mark the end of the ages. The dead will rise, and all people will face final judgment for their sins.
Oh. Do you think that's going to happen?
Most assuredly. But God alone knows when that will be.
Oh. I hope it won't be too soon. The anti-pope?
Unfortunately, that's a very serious and unpleasant topic. In short, alongside the legitimate Pope, the Bishop of Rome, and successor to St. Peter, another was elected and is usurping the highest glory of being Christ's representative here on earth. This is a most lamentable schism for the whole church, and the Avignon usurper must be compelled to give up his unlawfully acquired office, so the church and the whole of Christendom may again be unified.
So, there are two popes?
Not quite. There is only one, but there are those who refuse to recognize him. The election wasn't correct and valid, and I apologize. It wasn't wise to speak to you of this. It will only confuse you all the more. Better forget it. We won't talk about it anymore.
You mentioned the Emperor.
God wants unity, a universal order of the world. The Pope, Christ's deputy, and the Emperor, the supreme earthly ruler, crowned by the Pope himself, were instituted in order to preside over that unity. Unfortunately, the gleam of the imperial crown has become somewhat dulled, and his authority is no longer as absolute as it once was. What's worse, his election has become a political game involving many princes, and for a long time, the Emperor himself has paid less attention to the affairs of the Christian world and more to his own concerns.
I see. And what about these scholars?
That's complicated. Some reject the authority of the Pope or the Church. Others dispute over the legitimacy of government or the nature of the world. Others rebel against teachings. All of them seek all sorts of arguments and explanations to support their claims and argue with others. All this contributes to uncertainty. One doubt leads to another, and soon heretical ideas take hold.
Ah. Uh-huh.
But don't concern yourself. These are weighty matters for others who are learned in such things.
Of course. Peace on earth?
Yes. Sadly, many countries are torn apart by strife and destroyed by war. In the lands of the English, the French, the Italians, in the Holy Roman Empire, Christians are raising their weapons against other Christians. Love for our neighbor has given way to the pursuit of mammon and high office. They plot against each other to gain advantage. You've seen it yourself, right here in Bohemia, and even in Sasau.
Yes. And in Skalitz.
Indeed, my son. Regrettably.
But what does all this mean? What has it got to do with Johanka?
As I say, the order of the world is shaken. Division is spreading, and confusion and iniquity thrive. It's the handiwork of Lucifer, who wants to lay waste to God's creation. Many have succumbed to his false truths and spread them to others. That's why we must be alert to his snares, especially in these times. Be wary of false prophets and stick to the path of the true faith and personal virtue.
I'm not going to rat out the charlatan. I think he's wrong, obviously, to scam people, but I don't think he should be put to death for it, and I kind of have a suspicion that he might be if the Inquisition caught him, because it's not that the Inquisition wouldn't specifically care about the fact that he's stealing from people, but they would definitely care about him, counterfeiting holy relics. Because that's surely blasphemy, right?
And Johanka?
Just so. I fear she too may have been ensnared by Lucifer's deceptions, and the false belief that she's been visited by the Blessed Virgin. These machinations of the devil must be faced and stamped out before they take root and cause more evil. But we must not despair. Even those who have strayed from the right path may be redeemed. And that's why Johanka's case is important, although it may not be immediately apparent.
I understand. Thanks. I won't bother you anymore.
God be with you.
Okay, so... Sir Sebastian's testimony, Bailiff Hashek, Father Fabian, Brother Nicodemus, Guta, Pavel of Kolin. Okay, they are all in... They are all in Sasau, so that shouldn't be too difficult to gather testimony from them.
Brother Nicodemus.
You've heard something?
The Inquisitor has decided that Johanka will be tried, but he's agreed that I can defend her.
That's really quite unusual. It must mean he hasn't come to a clear conclusion yet.
Yes. I'll get her out of it.
I'm afraid it may not be that easy. The thing is, I expect Johanka will say the same things before the court that she's been preaching.
What are you saying?
Well, I've been thinking about what she's been saying, and it seems to me her preaching has a certain progression. Are you acquainted with the notion of the three orders of man?
No.
Not really, no.
It's like this. It's said that everyone has their God-given place and purpose on earth. Laboratores, oratores, and bellatores. Those who work, those who pray, and those who fight. The common folk are born to work, to reap the fruits of the earth and to obey the laws of God and man. It is the purpose of the nobles to protect the people and the church against all dangers and to maintain peace and justice on earth. And the church in turn has the task of caring for the spiritual welfare of all, ensuring the salvation of their souls and bringing solace to the people in times of hardship, so that they can endure their earthly trials and enter the kingdom of heaven.
But what's all that got to do with Johanka?
Well, I noticed in her first sermon she primarily addressed the concerns of the common folk, and in the second, she criticized the nobility.
Okay, I have to pause for a second, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So basically what he's telling me is that he expects her to criticize the church itself in the middle of her own trial, which is certainly a ballsy move, but not exactly smart.
Ah. So you think she might start talking about the church?
Yes, I'm afraid she might. I dread to think how that might end up. Henry, you must warn her against that. She must show humility before the Inquisitor, and the wisest course would be to admit to being wrong. She's rather stubborn, but perhaps she'll listen to you.
But the Inquisitor said no one's allowed to see her.
No one except the Inquisitor's own men. You'll just have to think something up. I'm afraid Johanka's fate is mainly in your hands now. I'm relying on you. Good luck.
Oh. Okay. So, maybe I can, like, steal something from his office that would sort of imply that I am in his employ, and then say that I am...
Henry, I'm glad you came.
And say that I am a servant of the Inquisitor and came to question her, or like to take her to him or whatever. That's certainly interesting, I will look into that. But we need to talk about Brother Nicodemus's testimony specifically.
Witnesses can be summoned for Johanka's trial. So I wanted to ask you if you give a testimony. Maybe some learned speech in her defense?
I'd be glad to do it. Johanka deserves my help. Such testimonies could carry a lot of weight. You should try and get as many as you can. See you later.
Adela, the Inquisitor is going to try Johanka in court.
Oh, Lord. I hope she's acquitted. I was absolutely devastated when they took her away.
I need people to speak in her defense, and I'd like to ask you to do it.
I don't want to go there. Really. I'm afraid of that Inquisitor. But you helped me, and so did Johanka. It's only right that I should try and help her. But what am I supposed to say there? I'm just a simple village girl. I don't know anything about these things.
That doesn't matter. You just be yourself. It should be enough to talk about all the good Johanka does here, and how she helps others. I'll send for you if you're needed.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
I'm kind of conflicted about enlisting Baron von Berg's testimony, because I feel like he might use this situation to sort of pressure Johanka into being in a relationship with him. He will be like, oh, I saved your life, you should be grateful to me now, but which is obviously gross and wrong. But my line of thinking is, you know, he will be invested in trying to save her, if only just because he wants to get into her pants. And I think from her perspective, it might be better to be in a relationship you don't like, or like to have to run away from someone who wants to force himself on you, than to be dead. Because once you're dead, there's not much worse that can happen to you. Oh, trophies?
I have some, trophies.
Let's have them. Very nice, very nice.
I need something from you, sir. I suppose you heard that Johanka was locked up by the Inquisitor and is facing charges of heresy.
I did, and it's most disturbing news.
What you might not know is that he's agreed that I can defend her at the trial.
You? Do you even know what to say?
Sure I know. It'll turn out just fine. Trust me. But I need you to testify at the court. In Johanka's defense, of course.
Naturally. You don't think I could just sit here and do nothing? Besides, the bishop has already insisted that I appear before the court.
Oh. All right.
One moment. I apologize if I was a little hasty. This whole affair has left me anxious. I appreciate that you want to defend her. However, I don't think it would have any effect. No offense, but I don't think you'll be able to achieve anything in court. I'm afraid the Inquisitor will judge as he sees fit, whatever anyone says. But I have an idea how you could help.
Oh? How's that?
Flee. With Johanka, of course.
It's not exactly a good idea. They wouldn't let it go. You know, if I prove her innocent, then that's it. But if she flees, then she will be, you know, hunted for the rest of her life, probably. Because I doubt they would let it go. Like, it's not that she, I don't know, it's not a minor thing. She's literally claiming that the Virgin Mary herself speaks to her. I don't think that's a good idea.
No, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm sure Johanka will be acquitted by the court and everything will be alright. Running would just confirm the Inquisitor's suspicions, and she'd always be looking over her shoulder.
I don't agree. As I said, I don't believe you can affect the outcome of the court. If Johanka flees, yes, she'll have to lie low for a while, but in time it will all blow over. You can take her anywhere, as long as it's far enough from here. A girl like that will always find her feet. She can easily hide out somewhere where she's not known. Maybe there could even be a place for her on my estate. Think about it. But whatever you decide, if Johanka comes to any harm, you'll have me to answer to. I'm very fond of her, and her of me, and I don't want anything to happen to her, understand? But if everything ends well, I'll show you my gratitude, I assure you. Good luck, then.
Yeah, so as I suspected, that guy is absolute scum. But as I also suspected, he is kind of invested in saving her, if not for the right reasons. So I still have to talk to Pavel of Kolin, the Bailiff, and Guta. Okay, what time is it? It's still pretty early, so I will talk to them, because I need to, like, I don't know, think of some way to pass off myself as one of the Inquisitor's men, and the easiest way I can think of is, like, maybe I can steal, because to be honest, all that I would need, I don't even need papers, I would need like his seal, because the guards are most likely illiterate, they wouldn't know what the papers say, so if I had the seal of the Inquisitor, then I think that would be enough.
Yeah.
Goodman Pavel, you're still here. That's a relief. I was afraid I'd miss you.
Ah, Henry. What would you like from me? Maybe you'd like to rob me of what I have left, or what is it this time?
What are you? Yeah, that's stupid. That's the game's fault, because I donated half of it to the monastery, but I was under the impression that I would be able to donate the other half to someone else, and I couldn't, so the game just assumed I embezzled it, which I technically did, and he's angry about it now.
What on earth do you mean?
You stole half of the money you were supposed to donate. You robbed me, lied to me, and dishonored the Blessed Virgin on whose behalf Johanka spoke.
Okay, I am going to lie about it, which, to be honest, makes it worse, but I am going to do it because I want him to help Johanka.
You're accusing me falsely. I donated the money I found in the place you described, and it wasn't easy to find either.
You mean half of the money I put there?
Half? What are you saying?
Don't think you can fool me. When it comes to coin, my memory is flawless. I remember exactly how much was there. 90 score groschen.
Well, then someone must have found it earlier and taken some.
Someone finds treasure and takes only half? Very fishy, I'd say.
No, not at all, actually. A lot of footpads think if they leave 1 groschen for every groschen they steal, it will absolve them of their sin, and they can line their purses with a clean conscience.
Well, there is a certain twisted logic to it. I know some merchants who think just like that. All right, Henry. I admit I jumped to conclusions.
Good. But now we've got that settled, there's something I'd like to ask of you. The Inquisitor has locked up Johanka. She's accused of heresy. I'd like to ask you to speak to the court in Johanka's defense.
Of course, Henry. You have my word. And the word of a burgher of Kolin ought to mean something. But to speak in defense of someone accused of heresy is no small matter. What do you want me to say?
The same thing you told me. That it was a sacred sign that you happened to be nearby when Johanka was speaking, and so on.
True. I'll tell the bishop that. You can rest assured.
Thank you very much. Please wait here a few more days for the court to convene, then I'll send for you.
All right. For Johanka's sake, I'll wait. Take care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our Lord's tasty.
Welcome, Henry. My humble greetings. How may I help you?
I need your help with something. I'm sure you've heard. Johanka was locked up by the
And the Inquisitor was asking around about her.
I'd like to ask you to appear before the court and say something in Johanka's defense.
I understand, but you'll have to forgive me. I don't want to show my face there. Never mind speak for Johanka. I wouldn't want people to associate me with her. What with her being a heretic, see?
People and their evil tongues. But I understand. It's a tricky business. I won't push you.
Goodbye.
Yeah, I guess that's because I didn't manage to help her with her husband.
God be with you.
Oh well. Hopefully the other testimonies are going to be enough. But the most important thing, I guess, is to convince Johanka herself to, like, openly repent. Which is going to be hard, because obviously she believes she has a divine mission. Where's the bailiff? Apparently he's just walking around. Gossip about the knacker?
I've heard talk about your knacker.
What's my neighbor been up to this time? Digging up corpses again? Or robbery?
Did he do that?
No, he didn't. But people thought he did. His house is nearby, between the rat house and the church. He's a decent man, a good man. But he's the knacker and the gravedigger.
That's good to know. Master Bailiff, Inquisitor Jaroslav is going to try Johanka.
I know. He was here asking questions, too.
Oh? What did he want to know?
Various things. Like how things are here, whether people are honest, whether we observe the fest days, and so forth. And then he asked about Johanka. About what she preaches, whether people come to listen to her and that. He's been talking to a lot of other people in Sasau, too. I even heard that Katra, the swordsmith's wife, invited him to dine with them.
That's interesting. Thanks for telling me.
That's interesting indeed. I will go check it out.
Was he just asking questions, or does he want you to testify before the court?
Yes. He did ask me to testify, and I'm none too happy about it.
I see. And what are you going to say about her?
It depends what I'm asked, but there's not much I can say. I don't know Johanka very well. She seems virtuous and self-sacrificing to me. She's never done anything wrong, and no one here ever had a cross word to say about her. Until recently. Maybe some gossip about her and Sir Sebastian. But I've heard similar talk about half the women folk here.
Johanka has helped a lot of people here, selflessly. Her heart is in the right place.
True. But then there's that preaching of hers. Folk have been falling out. They're split according to whether they believe Johanka or not. I don't know quite what to think of it myself. But I don't want to jump to conclusions. I'll wait and see what the learned bishop has to say.
Okay, I'm not going to try and bribe him, because he's like the chief official of the town. That's a crime in itself. And if he told the Inquisitor that would actually count against Johanka.
Thank you for speaking openly, Master Bailiff.
God be with you.
I will, however, go and talk to the armor smith, because I've been wondering whether I can invite him to work in Skalitz.
God save. What can I do for you?
Master Blacksmith, I've got a great offer for you.
Not now. First I've got to deal with that bastard Zach. Come to me afterwards.
God be with you.
Okay. I guess he's not entirely interested. But the thing is, he doesn't want any of my help regarding Blacksmith Zach. It's Zach that wants my help to run this guy out of his business, which I guess would give me an opportunity to invite him to Previslavitz, but that seems dirty to me. I don't want any part in that. Like, if he doesn't want to leave, I'm not going to coerce him to do that. But this episode has been long enough, so I'm going to save and end it for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.